When it comes to fantasy TV shows on HBO Max, it's likely that audiences will think of some of the streamer's heavy hitters, like the iconic Game of Thrones. However, there are many additional series that have just as much magic and intrigue, and are also finished airing. This means audiences can watch them from beginning to end without having to endure the agony of waiting for a new season. The best fantasy shows on HBO Max are both original HBO series and series from other networks that are currently available on the service. Regardless of where they first aired or the resources allocated to them, each of these projects has something exciting to offer, keeping the audience hooked from beginning to end. Whether you're rewatching these shows or being introduced to them, there's a lot to enjoy about these works. Pushing Daisies, 2007 to 2009. Ned and Chuck kissing through plastic wrap. Before he led the cast of the epic sci-fi series The Foundation, Lee Pace starred as the mild-mannered pie maker and moonlighting supernatural detective, Ned, in Pushing Daisies. Revolutionary at the time of its premiere for the campy and colorful visual style and offbeat tone, Pushing Daisies is much more than a cult classic, as everyone who watches the series falls in love with it. Pace is joined by Anna Friel as Chuck, Ned's love interest and childhood sweetheart, whom he can never touch. Pushing Daisies revolves around Ned's ability to bring the dead back to life by touching them, though they'll die again if he touches them a second time. Blending crime, comedy, and romance, Pushing Daisies is a hallmark of early 2000s fantasy. Pushing Daisies is a fantasy TV show masterpiece that will pull you in from the first moments of the pilot. The ensemble cast includes Kai McBride and Kristen Chenoweth, and each character in Pushing Daisies is as carefully crafted as its aesthetic sensibilities. Though we could have watched many seasons of the series, the 2 installments that exist are easy to keep rewatching. Lovecraft Country, 2020. Journey Smollett in Lovecraft Country holding a book with flames behind her. Just 1 season long, but no less memorable because of this, Lovecraft Country was inspired by the novel of the same name by Matt Ruff. Taking place in the Jim Crow South, Lovecraft Country blends the extreme prejudice and danger that were inherent to this period with the complex legacy of Lovecraftian monsters that have come to define horror. Lovecraft Country uses its horror and supernatural elements to grapple with this period of history, as well as the fact that the author, H.P. Lovecraft, is well known for infusing intense racism into his work. By walking the line between updating his monsters for the modern day and condemning his views, Lovecraft Country becomes something entirely original and riveting. There's little question that Lovecraft Country can be violent and gory, which might make some squeamish viewers cover their eyes. However, these elements all serve to uplift the deeper themes and philosophies of the show. Though it only ran for 1 season, it's a fantasy series that audiences should revisit or discover today. Carnivale, 2003 to 2005. The members of the traveling circus in Carnivale. Though it's considered a must-watch series, Carnivale flew under the radar for many fantasy fans. Airing for only 2 seasons from 2003 to 2005, Carnivale was well ahead of its time in terms of the themes and unique spin on the genre. Set against the backdrop of the Dust Bowl, Carnivale followed a traveling carnival and was deeply entrenched in a complex, mythological lore. Like many of the iconic but short-lived fantasy TV shows, Carnivale required a large budget and significant resources to get made. However, it's a shame that Carnivale didn't get to run for many seasons, as it had the potential to become a long-running project that evolved with the times and helped define fantasy in the early 2000s. Many incredible performers like Tim DeKay, Clea DuVall, and Michael J. Anderson appear in the series, with the sprawling ensemble cast all creating the series' atmosphere and tone. It's always exciting when a complex fantasy series is set in an unexpected period and leans away from the tropes of high fantasy without losing any of the magic. The Leftovers, 2014 to 2017. Nora and Kevin in The Leftovers series finale, with Kevin offering his hand to Nora. The Leftovers uses its light fantasy elements as a jumping-off point for the series to explore the deeper themes about humanity and the concept of faith. However, this doesn't mean that fantasy fans won't connect with The Leftovers, as it's a deeply emotional mystery box TV series that soars thanks to its central performances. Led by Justin Theroux and Carrie Coon as Kevin and Nora, The Leftovers takes place in the aftermath of an unexplained event that causes 2% of the population to disappear. The people left behind face immeasurable loss, as even those who didn't see a loved one evaporate bear the collective grief of the shocking change. At first, The Leftovers is so dark that it can be a little hard to watch. However, as the series progresses, it gains a sense of hope and begins to see the silver lining within its existentialist themes. Widely considered one of the best HBO TV shows, The Leftovers belongs to the era of prestige TV in everything from its writing to its visual style. The Vampire Diaries, 2009 to 2017. Nina Dobrev in The Vampire Diaries. Widely considered one of the definitive contemporary supernatural teen drama TV shows, The Vampire Diaries is as campy as it is romantic. Led by Nina Dobrev, Paul Wesley, and Ian Somerhalder as Elena, Stefan, and Damon, the lead characters and members of the central love triangle, The Vampire Diaries relied on the character relationships to propel the story. Known for its sprawling lore and occasional plot holes, The Vampire Diaries isn't simply a guilty pleasure, as it expands on some of the most enduring themes within the vampire genre. Elena's relationship with the Salvatore brothers is one of the most influential love triangles seen in recent years, and the characters' chemistry jumps off the screen. From the Vampire Diaries songs that defined the show to the shocking plot twists that audiences are still discussing, everything about The Vampire Diaries is larger than life. Though it loses steam in the later years, it's the characters and their arcs that make it a pleasure to watch the series from beginning to end. Elena is far from the only compelling figure on The Vampire Diaries, and the series knows this. True Blood, 2008-2014. Sookie Stackhouse, Anna Paquin, and Eric Alexander Skarsgård, in True Blood Episode 1 Smell a Rat. There's a long-running and well-established relationship between vampire lore and the American South in US television, but few TV shows embody this connection better than True Blood. Created by Alan Ball, a writer and producer also known for helming the iconic 6 Feet Under, True Blood was as sexy as it was subversive, even if there are some dated elements. Starring Anna Paquin as Sookie Stackhouse, the young psychic living in Bon Temps, Louisiana, True Blood sees her get entangled with the vampires who come to town after the supernatural creatures come out of the coffin. By exploring what the world would look like when confronted with the existence of vampires, True Blood grapples with very real social and cultural prejudices.